What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon. We're back doing another team announcement video for round 3 of the Six Nations. We've already done one for the Ireland versus Wales game. That's already out on the channel. You can go check that one out after this one if you want to. But Scotland versus England is our topic for this video. Calcutta Cup, one of the games I thoroughly enjoy every year. I love watching this game. I'm a neutral going into this fixture, and they're always really, really enjoyable games to watch. We've had some superb scorelines in the past. They're normally really tight, horrendous games that you just sit on the edge of your seat for. I'm absolutely all about it. And two teams going into it this year that I feel like are slightly underperforming from what I was expecting them to be. I thought England on a bit of a rebuild. I expect them to be maybe performing a little bit lower than, they have done in previous years. But even against Wales last week, I was sort of thinking this is an England team that really doesn't look like they've got a lot of things fixed. There's a lot of handling errors, especially in that first half. It got a bit better towards the end of that second half. And then Scotland, who have had two games now. They had one against Wales where they decimated the first game and then just stopped playing, and I still don't know what went on there. And then they went up against France last week where we had a really chilled back, easy-going game, no controversy at all. My goodness, going up against France where, oh boy, could they have won that game? Should they have won that game? I've been seeing all sorts of things online. My own personal interpretation of that final non-try, I absolutely believe the ball was down on that one. I cannot believe that they didn't give that one as a try. Rules of rugby versus common sense, like if the ball is held up and then dropped 6 inches lower, like it's down, it's on the ground, right? I don't know how that wasn't a try, but they lost against France, so they'll be looking to bounce back. And I think England are underperforming last week from what they would have been expecting versus Wales. I think they're trying to bounce back. I think this is two teams that are looking to throw everything into this game. So we're going to have a run through of the team sheets who's been announced, some good picks, bad picks, all that fun stuff. Go over my expectations for the game, what I'm hoping to see from both teams, and then finally, of course, giving a score prediction. If you enjoy the style of video, drop the old like button. If you drop down in the comments as well, who do you think's going to win this game? Because I'm always interested to see other people's thoughts. Starting out then with the Scotland team, the home team going into this one. We'll be looking for just a full 80-minute performance. Genuinely is what I'm waiting to see from this Scotland team. In both games now, I feel like Scotland have had the advantage. They've had the upper hand. They're playing really well. They go in at half-time. They're in the lead. And then just something switches off, and I don't know what it is. There's no reason with the talented players that they have in this team for the games to sort of slip away from them the way they have been, and then they suddenly re-galvanise in the final 5 minutes. And we had it in the Wales game. Duhan van der Merwe's try got disallowed right at the end of that game. Would have seen that scoreline look a bit healthier. They got one try disallowed in the 80th minute versus France, and that could have won them the game. All these little things that happen too late, whether they should have stood or not is your own interpretation, but you've just got to put in that full performance for the entire game and just can't let the other team get back into it. And England are a team that, again, it's kind of like Wales have done a little bit. I feel like to me they've grown into the games a little bit more as they've gone on. So I think Scotland again will need to keep an eye out for not to take their foot off the gas. If you're in the lead, keep going, keep taking threes, keep putting that scoreline a little bit further. Don't let off the gas. You've got to try and punish the team as much as possible. Starting out in the front row then, Pierre Schoeman goes in alongside of George Turner and Xander Fagerson. This is the front row we've been seeing across Scotland's games so far. In the lock department, Grant Gilchrist goes in alongside Scott Kimmings. They've gone for 4-5 that way round, which I'm going to have to change my Guinness Fantasy team. I've got Grant Gilchrist. I thought he'd be playing in the 5 shirt, but he's gone in at 4 this week. And then in that back row, Jamie Ritchie goes in, Rory Darge at open side, and Jack Dempsey in the number 8 shirt. Matt Fagerson not in the team. I haven't heard of an injury ruling him out. Actually, I didn't look that one up. But in all honesty, Matt Fagerson's been underperforming for me, and I really think they've got better options in that back row if he's going to be sort of at that level. Jamie Ritchie coming back in alongside Rory Darge. That's 2 players in terms of the breakdown, which is going to be really, really important, being able to get jackal penalties. Both those players are very, very good at getting over the ball. One thing that we did see from England last week versus Wales was actually how rapidly they will come off the line. They will try and tackle you behind that gain line, and then they will try and dominate that breakdown section. If you can hold out defensively in the breakdown, you will actually really take quite a lot away from that England game plan. And especially if you can control your own rucks, you can get players like that in to ruck out quicker, you can get that ball out. It really begins to shut down England being able to have a set defensive line and sprint off the line and catch you behind. You want to have quick ball against England really stop them and make them work a lot harder throughout the day. In the halfback partnership, Ben White going in alongside of Finn Russell. This is the halfback partnership I was hoping to see. I did wonder whether they might see someone like George Horn might slide in there. Still, to me, Ben White is your go-to guy in the scrum half, so I'm glad to be seeing him in there. Finn Russell, last round, it's 2 weeks ago now. I've got to try and cast my mind back to what went on with Finn Russell. I think he still had a couple of issues with his kicking, right, just around the park and stuff. France will punish you for that sort of thing. Maybe against England you can get away with a couple of those kicks. You can maybe try and look for those 50-22s. England, because they're so desperate to rush off the line quickly, little kicks over the top can be a really, really big advantage. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get to see Finn Russell this week try and utilise some of those things. Maybe rather than trying to find those kicks around the park, you instead get the ball out to him, little dink over the top of a coming blitz defence, and let you get someone in behind quickly and try and recover the ball, completely nullify that area of England's game plan. In the centre partnership, Tui Pilotu going in alongside of Hugh Jones, which is a centre partnership the last year I was ranting and raving about, and this year I haven't really seen it explode. Tui Pilotu, for me, has been a little bit quieter this year. Hugh Jones is still being, very aggressive with the ball in hand, but I feel like we're missing a few of those lines that we used to see last year, where Tui Pilotu give a little pop pass and bang, Hugh Jones is away and just, destroying defences. They haven't quite been able to replicate that, whether that's other teams defending better or their attack strategy in Scotland has shifted up a bit and not utilising that enough. I'm not sure. And then in the back three, Duhan van der Merwe on the left wing, Carl Steyn on the right wing, and the return of Blair Kinghorn comes back in. I'm very surprised by this because I knew he was coming back in. If you saw the fancy video that I put out on Wednesday, I knew Blair Kinghorn was coming back into the team. Did I think he would get straight in? No. He's come straight off the back of some injuries and stuff. He's not had a lot of game time in terms of the training thing. I expected Blair Kinghorn to come on from the bench and be that ultimate coverage. He can play 10, he can play wing, he can play fullback. I thought you'd sit him on the bench and you've got yourself a little bit of a safer fullback there to come on later on. I thought they might stay. We've seen like Kyle Rowe's been playing well. There was a bit of a shift up last week as well because Kyle Steyn went out just before the game. A little bit surprised to see Blair Kinghorn back in straight away. Going to be a big game to get back into, but I'm a big fan of Blair Kinghorn, so I'm looking forward to see how he gets on in that fullback shirt. In terms of the replacements then, Ewan Ashman, Alec Hepburn and Miller Mills will be coming on to that front row replacements. Sam Skinner and Andy Christie coming on from the bench, and then George Horn, Ben Healy and Cam Redpath are your replacement backs. And this is a bench setup for me that I'm not blown away by. The Scotland bench, to be fair. I think they've got some bigger options. That front row especially, Alec Hepburn and Miller Mills. Maybe I'd want to see a couple of different props going in there. The back setup, Cam Redpath keeps getting on the bench, and I feel like we don't really get to see him utilised a lot in the games. I'm not sure if Cal Rowe went out. I haven't read anything to say Cal Rowe was gone. I feel like maybe Cal Rowe could have slipped in there as well. Ben Healy, I'd like to see actually have some game time. I think he's got a bit of coverage in terms of position as well, so it probably still works out nicely for you. Yeah, that bench could be a little bit worrying, and considering that my biggest fear for Scotland across the Six Nations so far has been they play a great first half, and then the second half happens and they begin to switch off. So, and that hasn't blown me away, that bench. We'll have to see how they get on against this England team. Talking to then, let's move on to talk about England last week, who came away with a win against Wales. Not brilliantly convincing as much as I was expecting it to be going into the game. I expected them to really take control of that one. They conceded, early tries. Wales got over for it was a penalty try eventually, but it looked like a big driving maul going over. England suffering with yellow cards. Ollie Chesham and Roots, right, was the other one who got the yellow card in that first half. And little things like that. Against a Wales team that's rebuilding and maybe not quite at the top of their game at the minute, they managed to get away with that and were able to shut that down in the second half. Against Scotland, they absolutely will punish you for that. I feel like Scotland might be a little bit more clinical in being able to score more points if you go 2 yellow cards down. So discipline going to be one of the things for England. It's something I never really understand in the world of rugby. When you have a driving maul that is clearly going over the try line, why pull it down illegally? You know it's going to be a yellow card. You know it's going to be a penalty try. It's actually better, in my mind, to just concede the try and then have your full stock of players to go back out. But, they did actually get a try with 2 yellow cards. Hey, what do I know about international rugby, right, guys? In the front row then, Ellis Gant, Jamie George and Dan Cole. So Joe Marler moved to the bench this week, and Will Stewart, who that was the actual front row. They've changed both props this week going into it. So we're expecting slightly different action in the scrummaging time. Scotland scrums. We have seen not go 100% brilliantly over the course of this tournament so far, so attacking scrums is probably what I'd be wanting to see from this England team. In the lock department, Itoje and Ollie Chesham once again linking up. Itoje had a really good game last week against Wales, to be fair. I've really felt like Itoje, over the last year, 18 months or so, has been dropping off a little bit for me in international standard. I think he's come back into it this tournament. I think he's been looking pretty good. So I'm glad to see that he's still in there, starting there again with the vice-captain. I spoke about it with the Scotland team last week about vice-captains. Look at this England team. What's going on here? Jamie George, captain. Ellis Genge, Maro Itoje, and George Ford, vice-captain. Who's making the decisions at this point? That's wild. 3 vice captains has got to be too many. I mean, there's too many leaders at one point, right? In the back row then, Ethan Roots, Sam Underhill, and Ben Earl. Ben Earl getting over his try last week as well. Like I said, during the 2 yellow card situation, that is an area that England seem to actually do quite well, is when they are down that man, they can really galvanise and they really can get put on that front foot. And a couple of those key players, it was Itoje against Wales, being able to rush off that line quickly, catch Ewan Lloyd behind the line and, just pin him down, earn the scrum right under the Wales post and get over for Ben Earl's try off the back of that scrum. 2 men down, you have absolutely no right to be scoring a try there. That's just really well worked by some more experienced forwards and stuff. So a couple of big names to watch there. Ethan Roots, again, just watch out for those yellow cards, watch out for that discipline. Really looking forward to this breakdown battle, to be fair, because Sam Underhill and Ben Earl are also solid in that breakdown as well. I think I'm really looking forward to see that competition go on between the back rows of Scotland and England. In the halfback partnership, Danny Kerr goes in this week alongside of George Ford, who hopefully will work on his technique to kicking. I've never seen that before, where someone has just not run to kick the ball after making an additional adjustment. Referee said, yep, you moved to the side after you were set up. So, yep, they're allowed to have that one kicked off the tee for you. But, yeah, I'm sure he'll improve with that. There's been a weird thing in the last year or so, right, with England kickers. We had Owen Farrell letting the clock run down. We've had George Ford just not take the kick and took a step aside. Needs to be worked out. Got to work out that, very easy 2 points to be slipping away, and how close that Wales-England game ended. 2 points could have been the difference between winning and losing if you do too many of them. So want to work on that. Centre partnership, Ollie Lawrence and Henry Slade coming in this week. Last week we had Dingwall, who got over his try in the corner that arguably won England that game. Not in this one. Ollie Lawrence and Henry Slade, I think for me, is a better partnership. I haven't been blown away by Dingwall, to be fair, in that centre area. Ollie Lawrence and Henry Slade working off each other, I think, will be a nice sort of setup for them. Ollie Lawrence, such a hard runner with the ball. And I really like to see that style of play from this England team. Henry Slade on the outside to be utilised to try and find the room, play a bit more of a playmaking role. Ollie Lawrence is just going to be, if he hits a gap, he is a nightmare to shut down. So I like that switch for me. And then in the back 3, Elliot Daly, Tommy Freeman, and George Furbank. Now, I saw George Furbank getting in. I really try and do an immediate reaction to this team coming out. I try not to look up too much stuff before doing these videos. But this one blew me away that Freddie Stewart wasn't in. I had to go and look this one up because I assumed Freddie Stewart's out with an injury, right? He's got to be in there. Everything that I can see dropped from the team. Wow, I didn't think I'd be seeing Freddie Stewart get dropped. I thought he was just the nailed-on 15 for England. George Furbank coming in at 15. Big shoes to fill. I mean, Scotland has got on like a kicking game as well. I feel like you'd want someone like Freddie Stewart for the high ball kicks and stuff. And the last game I think I saw George Furbank play, actually dropped a couple of catches. If I was Scotland, I'd be target in that area. This one has been a bit of a surprise to me, unless there is a background injury and they've just not reported it to anyone, and maybe that is why Freddie Stewart's not in. But everything I've been able to see so far before making this video has been that he's just dropped from this game, not in it. So interesting to see how George Furbank gets on. So some interesting switches around going in for this team. And then quickly in terms of the replacements, Theo Dan, Joe Marler, Will Stewart. I'm looking forward to see that front row come on the second half. Again, like I said about the Scotland bench, it's a bit 50-50 for me. I kind of like that front row a little bit more from England. Rest of the placement forwards going alongside them. George Martin and Cunningham South. George Martin, man, it feels like a little while since I've said George Martin's name. The last time I saw him play, he had a great game. Very, very physical player. So looking forward to see him come on in that second half. And then the replacement backs, Ben Spencer, Finn Smith, and Faye Waboso. After picking England, where's this lad's game time? Why is he not on the field? I really feel like he's not been exploited enough in this Six Nations. We also have lost Alex Mitchell, right? There was a news a little bit earlier in the week that Alex Mitchell is out with an injury as well, so he'll be missing out on this game. So that's why we've got Danny Kerr starting and Ben Spencer coming in there. In terms of the teams then, I'm liking to see these competitions go on between the starting 15s. In terms of the bench, I am leaning towards the England bench. I feel like England have got a bit of a better bench to come on in that second half. So going to be, oh man, going to be a really interesting game. I'm looking forward to this. And so what are we hoping to see from this game? For me, Scotland, I want to see the full 80 performance. Even if, you're going to concede points, it's England, they'll probably kick for threes here and there. I would like to see Scotland just stay in it for the full 80 and not have that weird section where they just sort of turn off. I still don't quite know what's going on. From an England standpoint, it's going to be having a better first half. I feel like they haven't really got off to it. The defensive element for England looked very good in that second half against Wales. Wales really seemed to struggle to get around the England defence. They were off the line so quickly. I think one of the key areas is going to be if Scotland can play fast ball out the back of the rucks to get it out wider quicker, as well as utilising kicks better, because that England defence has been kind of similar throughout the Six Nations so far. They're also coming in with pretty much the same team in terms of their forwards as well, the way they're defending. I've got a feeling they're going to play a very similar game plan, so it's going to be if Scotland can adapt to it, get that ball out quicker, don't get stuck in your own forwards game, and look for a couple of those little chip kicks over the top. Genuinely really exciting game, because in terms of a score prediction, I'm going in favouring Scotland slightly for this one, but actually looking at the team sheets, I think England are in with a shot of this one, actually. I like that bench. I feel like England could come back in that second half. Will Scotland be able to build up enough of a lead in the first half, I think, to maybe see out England in the second half is how I can see this game going. I'm still leaning towards Scotland, seeing how close they pushed France last week and being able to take it right up to that 80th minute. Going up against England, I feel like they should feel confident. They've had a bolster of good players coming in that starting 15 for them. It's just that later game for me. I'm going to lean towards Scotland by this one, and this game typically always ends within a score, right? So I'm going to absolutely stay in that sort of area as well. I'm going to say Scotland by 4 for me is going to be my prediction, but I really wouldn't be surprised if England feel like they could have a good opportunity for this one. But let me know in the comments, guys, what do you think of the teams? Who do you think is going to win? What do you think the final scoreline is going to be? Drop it all down in the comment section, because I really enjoy having a read through it all. If you enjoyed this one today, make sure to hit it a like. Of course, we've still got the France-Italy game to go, probably coming out tomorrow whenever those team announcements are out. So hit the old subscribe button so that you are first to know when that video goes live. I hope you've all enjoyed this one today, guys. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.